Speak a few words, and we'll let Brandon just come and close it out.
Go ahead and preach a while, Dad.
I'm very thankful to get to be here. I'm very thankful that we have an opportunity to serve God. And I'm thankful that we have a mind to overcome the things of this world that are so negative about serving God. When you turn on TV, you look at a newspaper, half the people you talk to are so full of reasons why you can't stand up for the things of God.
Yep.
And our society just makes it so hard to really be bold and be outspoken for the things of God. I think about that all the time. Even at work. Even at work, you have to worry about saying the wrong thing. That it'll come back and get you because you've offended somebody somewhere. And I think about that, and you know, and then I think about how the Lord told Peter that you will deny me. And when Peter was standing right there with him, he said, I will never deny you. I'll fight for you. I'll die with you. And Jesus told him, he said, tonight you're going to deny me 3 times. And if you just read that story for the way that it is, that they took Jesus and they began their long night with him of ridicule and pain for him. And as the Bible says that the disciples were scattered when they took him, but Peter followed. It said Peter followed and he sat where he could see him so he could see the end. And that's the way it's worded in the Bible. That Peter followed and he wanted to see the end.
Yep.
And while he was peeking at him, somebody recognized him, said, hey, you're one of his followers. And it scared Peter to death. And he said, nope, I don't even know him. And he moved and he went stood somewhere else, where still he could see Jesus and what he was going through. And while he was standing there again, somebody said, I recognize you as one of those disciples. Peter said, no, I don't know the man.
Yeah.
I'm like everybody else. I'm just blending into the crowd. Don't point me out. And he moved again. And he went over and he stood by a fire to warm himself. And he could still see Jesus from where he was standing. And when he was there, a young woman said, you're one of those. I can tell by the way you talk. And Peter began to cuss and swear. To deny.
Yep.
And when he did, he heard the cock crow. And he looked up, and as soon as he heard that, he remembered.
Yeah.
And he looked up real quick. And Jesus was looking right at him. Through all the pain, and through all the agony that he was going through, he looked up, and he looked for Peter. Can you imagine the condemnation that Peter felt when he knew right then, I did exactly what you told me I would do, Lord, and I denied it. You know, when you think about how difficult it gets for us in this world to stand up for the things of God, anybody that's famous, if they try to stand on something of a higher moral value that Jesus laid the way, you look at how they're attacked. How you think about that if the newspapers, if they think that, and the news on TV, if they think that they can get, if they can get a little publicity out of it, they'll take that and they'll publish it to everybody. And they get to word it any way they want to. And if you say that you believe something is sin, that makes you hate them. And if you say that you believe that the Bible condemns something, that means that you hate those people. But I want to tell you about a man. Listen, I want to tell you how much hate that he had when he came down here. And by his very life, listen, he took away the cloak that hid our sins. Listen, by the very things that he did. Why, listen, in one sense, he cast us all into condemnation.
Yeah.
Why? Because, listen, he set up a way, a perfect and a living way. Listen, that opened every man's and every woman's eyes to their own sin. Listen, he opened our eyes to the fact that we are in a fallen state. He didn't open our eyes. Listen, and pray for just a minute of time. Why, I know this weather has got us all, listen, congested and tore up. Listen, but why I doubt that we're going through as hard a time as some of these brothers went through, Brandon. I doubt that. You know, when they had, listen, Paul and Silas locked in prison, and the darkness, there was no light there, Shad, like you were talking about. There was no heat there. There was no protection from the elements there. Why? They beat them and chained them in there. Listen, and we say we're a little hoarse today. Listen. And when they were down in that little prison there, one of them began to sing them a little song, and the other one began to shout praises. Listen to Jesus. Why? Listen, you can't. Listen, people, you can't. You can't, why quench that Spirit of God? This world, it can't stop the mouths of them. And no wonder Jesus said, if these would close their mouths, the very rocks would cry out. Listen, people, here I want to tell you about a man that was so full of love. But guess what? The world hated him. Listen, the world hated that he was so good and so full of love and mercy, Brandon, that his presence among them condemned them in their heart. Oh God, that my Lord was so full of goodness. Listen. Then he knew exactly what was going to happen to him, just like he knew that Peter was going to get scared. Oh my Lord. Listen, just because he pointed out to Peter what he was going to do, Brandon, didn't mean he hated him. Listen, but he was warning Peter of what was coming at him. Oh, God, sometimes I think about, I read the other day about, listen, and Psalms, everybody knows the 23rd Psalm about the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It's a very famous song. Oh, God, but have you ever read the one right before that? Listen, the 23rd Psalm, it's a beautiful one. It's full of comfort for us. It's full of the peace of God. It's full of hope. Listen, it's a personal message to you in your time of troubles. Listen. It's very personal, Brandon, if you consider that the Lord is my shepherd. When I read that, I can say it from my heart. Oh, Lord, he's my shepherd. Listen, and I heard, and listen, I know he said, and I read where he said, I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and they know my voice. Listen, I'm the Lord my shepherd, I shall not want. Listen, I don't think it's talking about I won't want a new car. I don't think it's talking about I won't want a better job and a better home. But oh God, listen, he maketh me to lie down, listen, in green pastures. My people, that's peace and joy. That's love right there. That's not talking about the hillside out here. And it's personal to me. And and we read all the way down. Oh, God. And you gotta wonder why would the Lord love us so much? Listen, why we were the ones that took him to the council that night. We were the ones there. Listen, that slapped him and said and blindfolded him. Listen, and began to beat him and said, who is it that's hitting you? They had him blindfolded there. Oh, my Lord, could have answered them, Brandon, my Lord. And why? There was no secrets there. When the one smote him on the cheek there and said, who smiteth thee? And the Lord could have turned right to him and told him who he was and what he was doing yesterday. Could have told him the very intents of his heart there. Oh, God. Listen, when I was in trouble on account of my sins, listen, and I knew that my home was going to be hell if I didn't do something. And I began to call on the Lord. Oh, God. If you turn back a page from that beautiful psalm, the psalm of comfort and everything he's done for us, and turn back one page, and you're going to read what we've done for him. Oh, God. And the first line says, my God, oh, why hast thou forsaken me? This whole song here, it's a picture of my Lord, Brandon, and what we did to him right before he came out of there as the good shepherd. Oh, God. He said, oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but thou hearest me not.
Yeah.
Oh God, he was all alone on that cross there. Even Peter, who promised him, oh Lord, I'll never forsake you. He was the last one to go. Listen, and my Lord heard him when he denied him, and he seen him out there. Oh God, people, and he said, he said, all they, oh God, that see me, they laughing at me. Oh God, listen, he said, God, you brought me forth, Lord, out of the womb, oh God, and you helped me, but now, Lord God, where are you?
Yeah.
Oh God, and he began to plead with God when he was hanging there, and he said, oh God, be not far from me, for trouble is near me, and there's no one to help me, God. Oh God. Now you think about the people, we're the ones that put him there. Listen, Brandon, you think about why he didn't have to do this. Oh God, Shad, he didn't have to go through the agony and the despair that was on that cross. Oh God. Think about the pain he was in there. And he says, as he described it, Brandon, one of the old writers did, and he was speaking for Jesus here, and he said, they've gaped upon me with their mouths as a ravening and roaring lion. And he said, I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint here, and my heart is like wax, and it's melted. Oh God, and my strength's dried up. Listen, and thou hast brought me into the dust of death. That sounds like a pretty lonely place there, Brandon. Oh God, it sounds like a pretty miserable time there. People, but listen to me. Do you understand that? And the very next song starts out, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Son, people, why is it really too much to ask that we stand up for the Lord after what he did for us? And listen, it's all about what we did to him and then what he's done for us. Oh God, and I wouldn't trade him for anything. I wouldn't trade him. Why? And what he's done for me, he really is my shepherd. Oh God. And I thank him for that. How wonderful that he is. And that's the message and this world needs to hear. Some.
Yes, it is.
This world needs to understand. It is not about It's not about making ourselves good enough to join a church. It's not about making ourselves good enough so that we justly get a place in heaven. We don't have the ability to do that. But with what we did to Jesus, aren't you glad that it's about mercy? If you think that I waited till I was good enough to to join church. Or if you think that I waited till I know I had been good long enough to prove to everybody, then I could join church and serve God. That's just not the way that it works. But when I cried out that night, Lord, just save me.
Yeah.
Take my life, if that's what it means. But save me, God, from hell. That's what it took. So Brandon, you come on, speak a few words, and we'll close it out. We've got a lot of work to do.